Welcome to Strictly Ball Business on a balmy Thursday here in Minnesota, baby. We are excited to talk about the first few days of free agency, which really makes up most of free agency. By now, most of the top names have signed, and we've had a couple trades. There's still hopefully a few more shoes to drop, especially in my opinion as a Timberwolves fan. But we are here to break down who we think the best signings have been so far, the worst signings, the most surprising signings, and we'll talk a little bit about how that shakes up the playoff pictures looking ahead to next year. So first of all, Dalton, who's the best signing in this offseason?
So, I mean, depending upon where Kawhi goes, I think that'll definitely change what I do. His sign and trade will be a huge option, but I think the Heat signing of Lowry, really the combination of Lowry and Tucker, but I think that was the best signing. I think that puts them in the third best team in the East, especially with Tucker and Markieff Morris and retaining Oladipo and Robinson. That's huge. It's hard to compete with that. I mean, they're bruising defense, well spaced, a mix of young vets, young and vets. I think they're going to be one of the best teams now. They definitely upgraded.
No doubt. I mean, they're immediately a top four team. At least they should be in the East as a lock there, and maybe even better. I mean, Lowry was an awesome addition. Just defensively, that team is going to be something. I mean, that's going to be pretty nuts. Shooting, they leave a lot to be desired, but hey, I mean, they got Duncan Robinson, they got Tyler Hero still. It's not like they're complete dog shit in that category, but they do have some real dogs as well. They've got Jimmy Butler. They brought in Markieff Morris. They brought in P.J. Tucker. Kyle Lowry is a dog. I mean, they're going to be awesome. I think it's going to be really fun to watch.
And Kyle Lowry's he's a good shooter. He can hit them, and P.J. can hit your corner threes at least.
I agree. No, I mean, he adds a little bit of shooting. I mean, Jimmy Butler is not a complete liability as a shooter, but he can certainly come in with the best of them every now and then. We saw a couple of years ago in the finals, he can turn it on when necessary. Hopefully, in the NBA, it's typically, what have you done for me lately? I tend to hate that, but it is what it is. In this last playoff, he was terrible, so that's what people remember. So we'll see what they could do next year. A better supporting cast usually leads to better play, so I would expect Jimmy Butler to have a better year just by having those guys added to the team.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and even if Oladipo just comes back half the person he was and takes less shots and just
plays.
Yeah, if he even plays. He signed on a veteran minimum, so whatever they get out of him is just extra, right? So, yeah. I mean, even if he just comes out and defends like he did in Orlando and the Pacers, I think that's good enough.
No doubt. Well, that was a good signing, and the Heat have had a really great offseason so far. Personally, I think the best signing so far has been Lonzo Ball. I didn't think I was going to be saying this a year ago because I was a Lonzo Ball hater, and in some ways I still am, but he made me believe in him a lot more this year just as a pure, great 3-and-D player. He had, his total field goal percentage was only 41% this year, but that's the best of his career so far because he shoots 8 threes out of his 13 shots per game. So, he's already primarily shooting threes, and from there he got to a career best 37.8% this year, and was playing well on defense with 1.5 steals and half a block, and we've all seen the highlights with alley-oops to Zion. Get ready with Zach LaVine, man. It's going to be fun. And 4 years, $85 million, you know what? It's totally fine because the Bulls need to have a winning roster, and that's a great point guard to add to your team. And they've been trying to add a playmaking point guard, one that can really lead their team for years, right? I mean, they've spent top draft pick after top draft pick on solid guards that have busted. And, you just got to spend the money on one that you already know is good in this circumstance.
Yeah, for sure. Lonzo's I've always liked Lonzo since even when he was with the Lakers, averaging 7 and 7 off poor efficiency, 7 rebounds, 7 point assists. But he's the full pack. I think he's just the perfect fit for what the Bulls want to do. He can come out, defend. he can be that primary ball handler. Even if, I mean, after they got DeRozan, you want to make an argument he'll probably have a higher usage than Lonzo. But no, he's playmaking, defense. That's some well added everything they need. They don't need him to be running the ball up, trying to get into the paint anyway. They have enough presence, so I think he's a great fit. Everything's complementary.
Well, it helps their transition game out a lot too, and like you said with ball handling, teams want to have multiple guys who can be the primary ball handler now, and they now have 3 guys who can take it up the court minimum, and you're confident that good things can happen in that possession, or at least disaster won't.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's a great fit. Excited to see that Bulls team. I mean, we can talk more about the Bulls. I have a few notes. I don't have them in any of my other topics, but just use this to jump onto DeMar's 3 years, $85 million. I think that's good. Yeah. I mean,
yeah, that's fun.
I've wanted to see DeMar play with Vucevic since Orlando, and they were rumored like 2 years ago. But now's a good time.
Squad.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I mean, I love it. They had to give up a decent amount in the trade package, but you know what? You've got a solid young player that can hopefully be ready at power forward in Patrick Williams. If not, they can still sign Lauri Markkanen for another year, and they're really solid at every other position in their 5. So I really like where they're going. Kobe White's a guy who can still step up this year, maybe be a really solid bench piece. I think they're bare minimum a top 6 seed, so very exciting to watch.
For sure. It's that extra playmaking that's very excited about me. I mean, as long as he doesn't do too many of those mid-range jab step jumpers that he did all the time with the Raptors and San Antonio. Not as much as San Antonio, but...
Well, yeah, it's just DeMar, but he did get better as a player in that way, just passing the ball a bit more. You don't want to be doing too much ISO ball. And, with the Bulls case, they've got multiple guys who can score. So hopefully he doesn't feel like he has to do that.
Yeah, for sure. And I really like him in the way, like, he's never been just a great defender, but just like Vucevic, if it's the right defensive system, he can buy in and do what he needs to do. Just like Vucevic isn't the best defensive player, but Orlando still had a top 10 defense with him as their center. Like, it's just, if you get the right system, I guess that could be an argument with anything, but it's a lot easier with 2 flexible players like DeMar and Vucevic on their team. And so we'll see how their defense, I'm not worried about their offense. It's the defense that they got to catch up. If they can get anywhere close to average, I think we'll see them go far in during this season, get a good record.
Yeah, hopefully they give this team a solid chance to gel, because it's a lot of new pieces. I mean, Vucevic only joined them midway through last year. DeRozan, he's just joining them now. He probably didn't think he was going to be a Bull at the beginning of this offseason. And then Lonzo's new there as well, even though the rumors to Chicago had been kind of the thing for a long time. So we sort of expected this, but we're going to have to give them some time to gel, and I think it'll be fun to watch. So I'm very excited for that.
Yeah, and just my last thing with the Bulls is how great is that to see, like, that franchise where just all this was just them telling Zach LaVine, like, hey man, we want you to stay, we're going to build something winning around you, and that's just always good to see. At least they're attempting.
Yeah,
it's not like the Wizards. I mean, the Wizards tried, don't get me wrong.
They got Garpax out of Chicago, so they finally are making smart moves now and going all in on a roster when they should.
For sure.
What's the point in letting Zach LaVine go?
Yeah, for nothing. What is it? He has 2 years left until he's an unrestricted free agent if he doesn't sign a extension. So I think they did enough where he would re-sign, but now they just as long as if they just have to make the playoffs this next season, and I'll be happy, and then we'll go further from there for them.
They'll grow. Yeah, I mean, he'll see that. He should be able to see that they're trying to win. I mean, these are some solid pieces that he should be very excited about. And, I mean, Zach LaVine is the best one out of them all.
Yeah.
So he gets to be the leader of the bunch. So
I mean, don't forget Alex Caruso, but whatever. He's just a guy, 3-and-D guy. I mean, he's a good piece, I guess. But
apparently the Wolves wanted him.
That's such a Wolves thing. That's such a Wolves thing to do.
I know. I was like... But why? He's not a power forward.
Yeah. If that was the Wolves' big free agency signing, I'd be like, all right, guys, we're going to Seattle.
Yeah, well, hopefully that doesn't happen. But let's talk about other worse or bad things that could happen, like the worst contract signed this offseason. There's always some that turn into, bad deals. There haven't been a whole lot of albatrosses given out this offseason, probably just because not as many teams having capital available. But off the top of my head, I was scratching my fucking head from Kelly Olynyk signing with the Detroit Pistons. And this comes a year after they wasted a contract on Mason Plumlee. And they just got off that, I'm pretty sure,
Yeah.
Like, Kelly Olynyk, he shot pretty well from the three in 27 games last year, 39%. He can space the floor. I'll give him that. But they paid him 3 years and $37 million. That's a lot of money for a guy who's going to add some shooting to your team, but no defense, not enough height for the positions they're probably going to play him at. Are we acting like Kelly Olynyk's a veteran presence now?
I think
is that value? Is that factored into this contract?
Yeah, I think that's what they're going for. I mean, I imagine they're going to play him at the 4 to help spread out the space with Isaiah Stewart as their middleman. But I don't know.
Yeah,
still the money. Like I think he would have been a good fit for $7 million, a minimum, mid level. Yeah. Not this crazy contract though.
Like I won't say Kelly Olynyk doesn't deserve a spot in the NBA. He's obviously a decent enough player, but that's it's a lot of money. Maybe that was the Detroit tax. It was like, hey, if you're gonna sign me, better throw some more millions in. They're all signed less to go back to, wherever, go to Charlotte. I bet Charlotte wanted him. They love their white bigs. So
yeah, they're gonna miss out on Cody.
That would have been a fit made in heaven.
Yeah, for sure. So just like you, I know you were thinking about, I thought about the 76ers. They didn't make my worst move, but this Andre Drummond signing was like a 1 year minimum deal. I mean, I feel like he could have gotten a little better extra. I think he's just trying to sign with the best team he could sign with at this point, but I think it's a terrible fit. I mean, you can't play him next to Embiid. There's no spacing if you play him next to Embiid, aside from them like hating each other.
Yeah. Well, he's definitely going in to be his Embiid's backup, which is what's hilarious, seeing that they had beef only 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And
I guess from a 76ers side, you're not paying him much, but I like Andre Drummond. I think there's a role that he can fit in the NBA. It's not a scoring option as much as he thinks it is. It's not a defensive presence, but I think there's a good role somewhere in the NBA for him. Maybe I think he's a good starting center for teams, and it's just, I mean, he's going to get like 10, 15 minutes a night. And this is the first of him getting out of the league, I think. I don't think this is going to go
that's the first sensible take you've had on Andre Drummond, because I think you're oddly high on him, saying that he has a spot in the league as a starting center. There's a reason he's getting paid the minimum, and it's because his mentality is weaker than his game. He tries, like you said, to be the best player on the court and thinks he can score all the time. He just fumbles the ball everywhere because he's got, bowling balls for hands. He can't make it way through the paint. He has the potential to be a starting center in the league. That was a few years ago. Now we're at the point where new guys are going to be coming in the league. Teams are looking at it like, why would we sign you when we just take this other guy who's athletic, got a great attitude, and doesn't think that he's all that? Or I mean, maybe he does, but he's got a bit more promise than you do. Like you said, this is the start for him to fall out of the league. It'd be cool if he can turn it around, but I just don't think you see that for big guys very often. Once they start declining, it's hard for them to come back. I've seen it with JaVale McGee coming back, but I can't think of too many others that became like a solid rotational guy after really falling out.
Yeah, it's very reminiscent of the mid Dwight Howard career where he was just bouncing from team to team because he thought he was more than he was, and I think it takes him to just buy into one role and be like, you're out there to get rebounds and protect the paint. He can. He can be a good shot blocker. I mean, he averaged 1.5 steals, 1.5 blocks last season. He's able to do it. He just doesn't want to buy into a role, and once he does that, I think he'll find that spot I was talking about. But no, my real worst was this McDermott signing, man. I mean, like, so I guess it depends if it was the right team, but the Spurs signing him to 3 years, $42 million deal. Doug McDermott. Like, he's a wing, right? So what are they going to do with Lonnie Walker, Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, Lukas Šamanić, and they just drafted Joshua Primo. Like, you have all these wings that you would like. I mean, they're rebuilding now that DeMar's gone. So I just don't understand this signing. Like, you have tons of wings that you're just not going to play now. Like, I think I'd rather see what Vassell has, Šamanić has, Primo. But I guess
McDermott is more of a forward, so he is bigger than a lot of those guys. So I would say he's got more of a role as they need shooting. So he's gonna get plugged into the rotation. And I mean, I don't know exactly whose minutes he's replacing, but you still need to get good 3-point shooting. And a lot of those other guys you named, I don't really think have shown us a whole lot that they can do that.
Keldon's getting better. Lonnie's struggling from three, but Devin Vassell he's kind of Doug McDermott like. I mean, that's who you drafted. Like, I don't see why. I mean, I don't get this. Like 3 years though.
Shooting.
Like
it's a big contract. It's a big contract.
I could buy in if it was like a 1 or 2 year veteran deal. You know, they're like, all right, we need a veteran in here, but 3 years. I mean, this is what you pay for somebody like someone in your starting lineup, or maybe a 6th or 7th man. Like, I don't see him being that. It just didn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. It's a little tough, like you said, for their timeline to be giving out contracts. I would argue they had a worse signing in Zach Collins for 3 years, $22 million. It was less money, but I mean, that guy's barely played, and he's out here getting $22 million.
Yeah, it's just,
from the Spurs. They're supposed to be smart.
Yeah, they're just going off potential. They're like, he is a 4 that could spread the floor. That could be a decent shooter and decent defense. But I don't know. We'll see. Spurs didn't have that great of an offseason. No, not much return like for DeMar either. But it's whatever. They're entering rebuild, and
I'd argue they did great for the return on DeMar. I mean, he didn't have to go somewhere where they could do a sign and trade. I mean, that's how it worked out. But they got 2 second-round picks, a first-round pick, and a starting power forward out of it.
Yeah, I got that's decent return. I guess I'm just over all this sign and trade where literally anybody can go anywhere now, and it's way too.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Open.
This new era we're in. It's gonna get probably even crazier, honestly, before the offseason's over. I feel like
for sure. All right, so surprising. What was the most surprising move for you so far this offseason?
You know, I probably shouldn't be surprised by it because it's the Lakers and they get away with everything. I expected them to have ring-chasing vets like Melo and Dwight Howard come to them. I'm not mad about that. What I'm mad about is them being able to sign 2 guys who shot over 38% from 3 last year with over 10 points per game, over 11 points per game each, in Kendrick Nunn and Malik Monk. Both these guys are, in their mid-20s, and they're taking cheap-ass deals just to go play for the Lakers. This is the shit that pisses me off because it's like they could have got money elsewhere, and they could have had bigger roles elsewhere. But I get it. They want to play for a good team, so they make it to the playoffs, and they're with LeBron, and it inflates them. They go back in free agency again and make more money. That's probably the move, and maybe they get a championship on the way. But it's fucking annoying because, again, the Lakers, doesn't matter how many dumb moves they make, they're always going to have people wanting to come to them.
Yeah, for sure. I'm over the big market. At like, we're the Lakers. Like that's it. It's like you want to be a Laker. That's their pitch, and it works every time.
It's lame.
And I would have liked to see Kendrick Nunn actually further his career. I mean, he's gonna probably be the starting point guard. No, probably backup point guard behind Russ. Gets no minutes. Like I like that guy. He could have been a really good player. I mean, he is a really good player, but would have liked to see a lot more of him. And now he's just a bench role for the Lakers. I mean,
Yeah, I don't get it.
yeah. But Malik
Monk's 22. He's got good efficient numbers. He's got good promise.
yeah,
I'm not. I don't even know why Charlotte didn't want to keep him. To be honest.
he's ridiculous on defense. He's been kind of a project. I understand why Charlotte kind of gave up on him. They're like, we're moving out of the projects. We want win now players. We want to start building around LaMelo. I think it's a little too early for that. I think they still could have picked up a few good prospects. So the Gordon Hayward signing last season was just, I don't know, it was just not enough for me. Like I think they could have done with a little more.
Yeah. Well, we knew that was a bad sign at the time. Again, MJ is just always making really questionable moves with the salaries. He was weird about not paying Kemba Walker what he was worth at the time, just so that he could go around and give Batum a max and give, like you said, a max out here to Gordon Hayward. Well, near max to Gordon Hayward, $30 million per year. I mean, that's way too much. But
yeah, no,
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just like hard. It's hard to watch the big market stuff happen. As a Timberwolves fan, you as a Magic fan, we're just always at the bottom of it. No one ever wants to come to Minnesota, and I probably just sound like a annoying fan bitching, woe is me, but it is lame because the other sports aren't like this. Minnesota Vikings have no problem reeling in free agents. The Minnesota Twins, they can get free agents in as long as you give the guy the most money. It's happened before. Timberwolves, like, guys just don't want to come here. Our best signing ever in free agency, guess who it was?
Thaddeus Young.
No, we traded for him.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It was Jeff Teague.
Jeff Teague, that's right. The promise of Jeff Teague.
$20 million a year for 3 years, and he was horrible for us. I hated him. But he was honestly probably our best or most notable signing. And he was our worst player for us. Maybe not like best in terms of the production we got, but of what we had thought we had coming in.
He was decent for that 1 year.
He was great before.
Yeah. Well, my most surprising. I mean, it wasn't as surprising as contract wise. It was surprising fit. Was Devontae Graham's 4-year, $47 million to the Pelicans. I thought he'd get that money. I think he's worth that money, but I just don't get the fit. I think they really wanted one. I thought they should have went more for defense, and I don't see Devontae Graham as a win now player, especially not a starting point guard. I mean, maybe you can make an argument for the sixth man for this team, but I just don't see how he fits. I mean, he's a good playmaker. He can hit from 3, 37 career shooter from 3, but from the field, he's awful. He's, shot 37 last year and 38 from the floor, 38% from the season before. He's a good low playmaking, low turnover guy, but I don't see his fit with Zion as well. Pick and roll wasn't his major thing. I mean, granted, he only had Cody Zeller when he was with the Hornets, but it wasn't his major play, and that's what they like to run with Zion, especially now with Valanciunas. I just would have liked to see them bring in a little more defense.
I think they definitely were trying to go after Kyle Lowry, and they struck out, and he was probably using them as leverage for the Miami Heat. So they were just kind of under the barrel under that one. They should have just re-signed Lonzo Ball. That was the move. He's already a good 3-and-D point guard. Instead, they kind of just took worse resources in getting Thomas Satoransky, a pick, and Devontae Graham.
Yeah, I mean,
they decided they were just accepting that.
Sato, I guess, was their attempt at getting more veterans. Even though they had they had JJ Redick last year. They barely played him. I mean, he's still, all things considered, he's still a shooter, and that's what you want around Zion. But I mean, this would be validated a little more if they went out and got Dennis Schroeder. Not saying Dennis Schroeder is the answer at point guard, but that would move Devontae to a six-man role, which I think should be his role. I really see him excelling in that in the future. I mean, either or. If Dennis Schroeder goes to the signs as their sixth man, which he won't, but that would be a good move for them too. But we'll see where Schroeder goes. As at this moment, he has not signed anywhere, so he hasn't had his great contract that he wants yet.
It's tough. Would it make sense for the New Orleans Pelicans to make a trade for a point guard, say Ben Simmons?
I don't think that'd be a good fit. I just, the spacing, I think you really have to help out spacing around Zion. If you have one guy who's going to have the ball and he's not going to be able to shoot as well, I think everyone around him has to be able to shoot. Just like how they have Giannis figured out. Everyone can hit threes around him. Just same deal there. And that's why Ben Simmons isn't fitting with Embiid. Embiid can hit the three. Not efficiently, but you have to have shooters everywhere, and that's why just having two guys on the court at least one guy on the court who can't hit those threes, especially a primary ball handler. I think there's better situations for Ben Simmons to fit, and I think New Orleans is not that fit.
Yeah, I mean, what's tough is, again, with Lonzo, I had thought that he was going to be a bad fit with New Orleans because he wasn't a great three-point shooter before last season, but then he proved that he can be that guy, and he's getting better year after year. So then, it was like, okay, why don't you want to re-sign him?
Yeah,
kind of showed you what you wanted to see
for sure. I think CJ McCollum would be a good fit for them if they could swing that without losing their top two players, Zion and Brandon Ingram. I think he would be. You could play him at the 1 or 2. He's played the 2 his whole career, but in college he was a 1. So he can definitely do that. He can get it done. He's a decent playmaker.
That would be a good move. Yeah, McCollum, Ingram, and Zion is your big 3. It would be pretty solid.
Oh, yeah.
But, it sounds like the Blazers are just going to run it back.
I guess. Nah. I mean, they signed Norman Powell to that decent contract, 5 years, $90 million. It's not bad, money-wise, but 5 years.
He's worth it. I mean, he's a good player. It's the same contract Duncan Robinson got, So raises the question: who would you rather have?
I think I would have Duncan Robinson over Norman Powell, but yeah, I don't argue with it. It's decent, but they still lost. I mean, Zach Collins never played for them. He was supposed to be a decent piece, but. And they lost. Someone else.
They still got swept in the playoffs last year with the same team. So I think Dame was hoping for a couple more additions rather than just Chauncey Billups as their head coach.
Yeah.
They brought in Ben McLemore and Cody Zeller.
Oh yeah, and they did lose Melo. He was kind of a big piece for them. He was more or less their sixth man. So
he was really good for them. That's a tough loss.
Yeah, that was a lot of scoring that it's going to be hard to make up, and shooting. He shot really well for them, bought into that role. Super.
Yeah.
Very revitalizing part of Melo's career. But
it was nice to see because it really sucked how he fell out of the league.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have said, I expected him to become a Blazer any day, but randomly he signed there and it, worked out. He was able to carve out a role and he humbled himself and he looked really good. So he proved a lot of people wrong with that.
Yeah, for sure. One team that I never root for them, but they've been doing pretty well. They've been a gritty team lately, and that's been the Knicks. That they're one of those big markets, and I'm like, okay, whatever. Like every season, they're like, we're gonna sign someone, and they sign some free agent. That's just not it. But I think they've built a decent team, and they've put themselves in a place where if the star became available, like Damian Lillard or Bradley Beal, they can pull together a trade and become a decent team.
Yeah, they're finally figuring out that the way to get a solid team isn't through waiting for a free agent, for a top guy to just come to you. You have to sign good players, create a winning culture, and that star will become available later on, and then you'll find a way to get him. And I agree, they're doing great. I mean, they've just re-signed a lot of their guys, so that looks great in public relations terms too. some of the contracts may be questionable, but
Yeah.
I mean, Nerlens Noel is a really nice player for them. Derrick Rose, really nice player for them. Evan Fournier is a big contract, but adds some scoring and some 3-point shooting. So, and they weren't gonna. I mean, who was gonna be a better option for that with what they needed? They might as well spend the money this year. So
No, yeah, I actually maybe because I was I actually hated Evan Fournier with the Magic. He took a lot of unneeded shots, wanted to be the number one scoring option, but I think he's a great fit for the Knicks. As we saw in the playoffs, they struggled with scoring options. They needed more shooters. Their defense held up, but held up enough. They just needed offense, and I think he's a great fit. I mean, 4 years, where are we? 4 years, $78 million. That's not too bad. It's still less than 20 a year.
yeah, it's 18 per year. So realistically, I think people expected him to get that, or that's. I mean, he was kind of gunning for 20 or 18 to 20, and it's the same amount that Norman Powell's getting paid per year. It's the same amount that Duncan Robinson is getting paid per year. It's just one less year. It's the going rate,
Yeah, I think
You need scoring.
Yep.
They add 18 points per game.
Yep, and he can play. He's a serviceable defender, so that helps. Plus, I think it's a really good fit for Kemba. 1 year, $8 million with a buyout with OKC. I think this is a good spot for him. I think.
Yeah, back home.
Yeah, like especially that they have the depth where if his injuries do become if his knee gives out a little bit more, I mean, you still have Rose, right? You still got some.
Yeah, you still got the other injury-prone point guard.
Yeah, that's right. But they also retained Alec Burks, which I think was really nice, and they signed Julius to that 4-year, $117 million extension. I think that was a must. I think
that was a must.
I think Julian's your guy.
Julian Randle is awesome.
Yeah.
Julius Randle is awesome. He is New York basketball. I mean, they're gonna end up loving him just each year. And Alec Burks, I mean, that's just my alter ego. So
yeah, that's right. But I think they did a good job. I'm not a fan of Thibodeau, but I think this is a good team they put together.
Yeah, he'll fool people to believe in him for another year or two, and then he'll show why he sucks again. But he's made New York basketball relevant again, so good for him in that way. But I won't ever forget his 8-man rotations with the Timberwolves and playing Brandon Rush 42 minutes a game.
Yeah, I don't know. Well,
unforgivable stuff.
He didn't make the New York relevant again. He made the Knicks relevant again.
That's the same.
Brooklyn still exists.
Whoa! No. No one in New York is copying Brooklyn.
Right.
Stuff.
All right. Well, another team I wanted to talk about was the Wizards. I think they got better releasing Russ. I never liked the fit with Russ next to Bradley Beal. I thought it was just a weird fit, especially how his usage. I think Beal could be the second option on a winning team. Maybe at best second option on a scoring team, depending upon who his other options are. But Dinwiddie signing, I thought that was all right. Whatever, 3 years, $62 million. He's more of a shooting threat than Russ is. Like Russ was, they just didn't even guard him from three whenever they played him. But now Spencer Dinwiddie comes out. He still has a lot of efficiency that he has to figure out. And they take a pretty good hit on the playmaking because Russ, all things considered, he was a really good playmaker. So, but I think for the money and opening up what they could get with all the talent, like Kuzma is meh, but inconsistent scoring. But at least he's there to score. It's not just Beal and, I mean, sometimes Hachimura. That's really all they had. Raul Neto, like that. That's what they had. At least Kuzma's a decent option. KCP is a good shooter. You get a good wing. You always need some of those. Yeah. Plus, Harrell's a great effort player. I'm excited to see some pick and rolls between Harrell and Bradley Beal. I think that'll be really exciting. And Corey Kispert's just another decent wing. You get some shooting, some nice offense. I think they're gonna. I don't think they're gonna make the playoffs again, but I think I like the look of this team better than with Russ.
Yeah, I agree. The Spencer Dinwiddie contract is a risk, but it'll probably be fine. He's young. He's got some potential, so I don't hate it. And I really like what they got out of the Westbrook trade. I mean, they got some solid role players in Montrez and Kyle Kuzma, and especially in KCP, they needed some shooting. And their first round pick with Corey Kispert, I think he's going to be solid. He's got some really great shooting. Like we said, he's the best shooter of this draft, and this was a good draft. So I think that's a good thing to have on his shoulders coming into the league.
Yeah, for sure. And Thomas Bryant's going to be back. That was actually a huge thing. He was injured the last half of the year last year. Thomas Bryant, he's becoming he's growing a jump shot. It's looking a little more consistent, so I think that's also going to help out them. I think they could slip in. I wouldn't be surprised if they slipped in the 8th seed, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they didn't. They didn't miss it at all. Missed the playoffs totally. I think they're a play-in show.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I could see them in the play-in tournament. That's coming back. But
I could see that too. I mean, I'm not going to pretend like the East is going to be a bloodbath, so I could definitely see the Wizards making it no problem. I mean, just off the top of your head, who are the top 8 teams in the East?
In a row? Like in order?
Not in any order. Just who's your top 8?
Well, I mean, I know my top 4 is the Nets, Bucks, Heat, Knicks, and then I like to think the Bulls are going to make it. I don't know if the Pacers will make it. The 76ers will make it, so that's 6.
Don't forget the Celtics.
I think the Celtics will make it. So
that's 7 right there.
Got one more. We're not counting play-in. I think the Wizards will make the play-in. If I had to pick one for 8 right now, I don't think the Pacers hit it. I think the Wizards can get by the Pacers, and especially if they make a Miles Turner trade at some point this season.
Did you say the Hawks in your 8?
Oh, no, I didn't. Yeah, the Hawks. Yeah, so Pacers and Wizards aren't making it. I can put them in the play-in, just like this year. But yeah, Hawks will probably be my
East
5.
is getting better.
Hawks, I'd put...
Yeah, East is getting better. I mean, yeah, we can't forget about the Hawks after what they did this year. So, I mean, who knows?
Yeah,
I mean, I wouldn't say New York is a lock. I would say the Hawks are better of a lock than them for sure.
Yeah, I see that. I just think the Hawks stayed the same and the Knicks got better. And in this league, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse.
Well, they were in the Eastern Conference Finals last year, so I will give them the benefit of the doubt that the players that were there will get better. And they also didn't have DeAndre Hunter during the playoffs, and he's a solid young player. Cam Reddish was looking better last year than he did his first 2 seasons, and he's been hurt a lot. So hopefully, if he's healthy this year, he can make a step up. So, you know, maybe there's some more excitement in the East, even if it's not coming out of Orlando.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm satisfied with our draft pick. I'm excited just to see some losing basketball with Jalen Suggs leading the way. That's all right with me.
That's the magic way.
That's the magic way. Let's talk about. I mean, we already talked about the Lakers. So they brought in Russ. Like, what's the starting 5? Is it Russ?
Well, is Talon Tucker gonna start?
I think Wayne Ellington's gonna start just so they can get some shooting. So Russ, Ellington, LeBron, Melo, Davis.
I mean, Monk might start.
Monk could start. Yeah, I think right away Wayne Ellington will start, and I think if Monk grows into his role, he'll be starting by the end of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think Melo's coming off the bench, or is it going to be Melo and Davis at center, or is it going to be Davis with Howard at center? I think that would be a mistake. I think you just be like, hey, Davis, I know you like playing power forward, but you got to be center. We need more shooting. If Howard's in the starting lineup, nobody's hitting it for him.
I think that they might try a few different lineups out, but their primary one should be Davis at center with Melo at power forward. And he probably looks up to Melo enough where he's going to be like, all right, fine. But we'll see. You know, I think Davis knows he's better at center. He just wants to, you know, not bang in the paint with those other guys. He's so fragile. But
yeah, it's just easier for him out
you know, if you're going to get injured anyways, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, for sure.
You get hurt when you put it outside, too.
But I will say, if this team is fully healthy, I think they're probably against a fully healthy Nets team, I think they're the only people that can contest with them so far that have proven before the season has started. Just off the roster alone, I think they have the best chance. But who would have?
Yeah.
Who would have known? 7 years ago, if you would have been like, "Oh yeah, Dwight Howard, Carmelo Anthony, and LeBron James are all going to be on the same team," somebody would be like, "You're fucking crazy!" like no way. It's just crazy. These guys were all like
And they're all on the
MVP
Lakers.
type players. Yeah, and they're all on the Lakers. That's crazy. That would have blown their minds. But, I
Absolutely.
also, yeah,
No,
I also really like the Warriors. They haven't done much in the free agency, but I think most of it came from the draft, adding Moody and Kuminga. Just in the summer league, they've showed that they can play make, do some consistent slashing. I think they look really good. Otto Porter is a sneaky signing. I think he's going to be really nice for them. Just a 3-and-D guy. He's going to make up some of what they lost in trading out Iguodala 2 years ago. And Belgica.
they might bring him back, it sounds like.
Yeah. We'll see. That would be nice, but 2 years have kind of been. He's an old guy now. Like, he's not that guy who could do what he could do even 2 years ago. But Belgica's a great signing. Anybody who can shoot the three is a great signing for the Warriors because you can just put 5 shooters on the floor and they'll make it work. And of course, Slay's coming back, so I think they'll be a top 4 team in the West. The Warriors will.
It's somewhat of a bold take for them to be top 4, but I do think they'll be really solid next year. A lot of it's going to be dependent on how good Clay is, and I believe he'll be really good just as much as you do. So they probably will be really talented. I like some of their moves too. Again, it's the ring chasing type of stuff, but Bjelica is a good solid player. I get why he'd want to go there. I would have kind of welcomed a reunion back in Minnesota for him. I can see why he wouldn't want to come back. But the Warriors, they had a couple of solid draft picks. They get Jonathan Kuminga, who is an athletic freak, a ton of potential. And Moses Moody is a really solid 3-and-D prospect on the wing, which they need more potential on the wing to, just take more minutes away from, guys like Kelly Oubre, guys like
who has not signed
Andrew
yet.
Wiggins if he gets worse. But and it was interesting how they traded away Eric Pascal.
Yeah, that was a really weird one. Just like that Cam Johnson trade. I was like, they didn't want to pay him. I get that, but who'd they give him to? The Grizzlies? No. Who did?
I'm not sure.
Let me look this up. No, I thought that was really weird. Just like Cam Johnson went for Shamit in a second.
Cam Johnson, he got traded in that?
No, Cam Johnson got traded earlier. This right after the finals ended. He's a net now. And they got Shamit because they just didn't want to pay Cam Johnson when he came up.
No, I don't think he got traded.
Pretty sure I saw that.
We'll have to double check that one. But I know Shamit got traded basically for a first round pick straight up, which was interesting.
Pascal went to the Jazz, which is really nice for the Jazz. But
yeah, I know Pascal got traded. Okay, so he went to the Jazz, and the Jazz also got Rudy Gay, which leads some people to think that they want to move on from Joe Ingles because they need to get better defensively on the wing.
Oh yeah.
So Joe Ingles, him getting traded would be interesting, seeing that he's been with the Jazz for such a long time and the people there love him, NBA world loves him, but you got to get talented in some areas sometimes, and they're doing well on shooting. They can sacrifice him.
Oh yeah. No, yeah, I heard wrong. That was my fault. It's Shamit Delta Songs for Javon Carter and then 29th draft pick. That was it.
Yeah. Okay, that's what it was, Javon Carter. Yeah, I was surprised to see them be able to re-sign Cameron Payne over in Phoenix because it sounded like they weren't going to be able to keep him. They ended up getting him back for $6 million a year over 3 years, which is a nice deal for a guy who fell out of the league. And another reason I thought they were moving on from him was because with the 29th pick they had used, or whatever. Yeah, I think it was 29th pick, their own pick. They had used that on a guy who had a similar player profile to Cameron Payne. So I suppose he's probably just not ready yet, though. So Cameron Payne is. He played really well in the playoffs. So
for sure. A few other notable contracts was Jarrett Allen's 5-year, $100 million. Like we started, they have Evan Mobley now, so I guess they really think that can work out. Evan and Jarrett.
Well, like we said on our past podcasts, like worst case scenario, you can move on from Jarrett Allen later in the season. Other teams would be willing to pay him that money and have him on their team. Best case scenario, these two guys really work out well together. And there's an idea to believe they would, because one of them's more in the paint, more with Jarrett Allen. But Evan Mobley is really just a big wing, and he has a really nice ball handle. And in transition, might be able to really stretch things for them.
Yeah, but also Evan Mobley's just a defensive freak. Like, I'd rather see him in the middle than Jarrett Allen. Not saying Jarrett Allen's no slouch, but Evan Mobley has the potential to be way better defensively than Jarrett Allen. That's 7
But we've always seen that the first year for a player, they're never really good defensively. So you don't really want to throw all your eggs in that basket quite yet.
All right, that's fair. John Collins sneaks away with a 5-year, $125 million contract. Is that trade bait, or is he there to stay with the Hawks?
He's probably there to stay for at least this year. You know, if they regress and don't make it out of the first or second round this year, and maybe a star is available, he's a good trade chip to get better. But 5 for 125 is really nice contract for him. I really wanted the Timberwolves to find a way to sign and trade and give him the maximum money that he wanted. But you know, he's got a good home there in Atlanta. It's really nice team around him. I just want him to get more minutes. If they can get rid of Gallinari, I think it'll open things up for John Collins more.
Yeah, he's really grown into an all-around power forward. He can defend. He's starting to shoot better, starting to defend better. Obviously, he's an athletic freak. He can bang it down low. I think not much of a post game, but I think that's fine. You don't need a post game as going into the future. I think it's nice to have, but it's not the offense of the future. So, I think he's a really nice young player, and I think the Wolves would have been great to get him. They still have the attempts, but they'll have to do it it'd have to be a trade deadline trade, and they'd probably have to give up a lot more than just Malik Beasley. So I still think Turner's their move there, but that would have been nice. We already talked about Powell. Tim Hardaway, 4 years, $72 million. That's the best the Mavs could do, apparently.
Well, they made it a priority to re-sign him. He was fantastic for them last couple of years, especially this last season. It is interesting because I think it's basically the same contract he signed with the Knicks a few years ago, and now he's able to get the same thing back then that looked like that was going to be a bad contract. But Tim Hardaway Jr. has proven people wrong. He's become a solid player in this league, and he shoots the three really well. And the Mavericks, they need whatever talent they can get around Luka.
Yeah, I think he's a nice piece. He's a lower end third option. I think that's fine. They're trying to find their second. So we'll see. It's been very quiet about the Porzingis trade market, so we'll still have to see how that turns out.
Because there is none.
Yeah, he's a huge risk, but I don't know. I really have no idea if anything will come out of Porzingis. Nice for if Minnesota could pick him up. At least he could play some defense. I don't know. We'll see.
What are you talking about? That dude doesn't play defense anymore.
Yeah, that's right. He's a decent power forward. They just need a little more size. That's all I'm saying.
He needs to be making half as much money.
yeah, he probably won't make as much.
I would love him for like $18 million a year.
Yeah, Miles Turner contract.
Exactly.
Yeah, that'd be nice. But we'll see. That's all I had.
I think he's a superstar.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, great. The free agency was exciting. It was kind of a weaker class. We knew that coming into it. There's still opportunity for more trades here in the future. I especially hope on the Timberwolves side, seeing that We've only signed a couple of younger guys to two-way contracts so far. So hoping there's some more moves there. And things throughout the offseason progress. Guys talk. Team USA and the Olympics are wrapping things up here. As they get a gold medal, is there guys whispering Damian Lillard's ear to ask for out? You know, what's going on with other guys around the league?
Oh, yeah.
We'll see. It's going to be an exciting season either way. I mean, well, how far are we away? When does the season start this year?
Probably something good to know for two people running a podcast.
No, I'm excited. I fucking love basketball.
Oh, yeah.
So.
One thing I really want to keep out for, the Bulls could still get better. They still have that sign and trade availability with Lauri Markkanen. They still could get a pretty decent piece there. So we'll have to see there. That could change where they fall. They could fall into my top 5 or top 4.
Well, it sounds like the Hornets, as of today, are pushing to maybe get a deal done with Lauri, and they have cap space. So I'm not sure what the motivation would be to get a sign and trade done there.
Yeah, I saw that. October 19th is when the season starts.
Not long away. Not long away at all.
Then I think we'll finally be close to our normal schedule at that point. It's usually when it starts. It's late October.
Yeah, we'll be sort of back on track, and then like the next year should look a lot better. Like it's gonna be tight getting ahead to this next off season
for sure.
But anyways, we'll wrap this one up. This was a fun episode talking about one of the fastest times in our league where things just go by really fast. Really fucking fast with all these signings. I mean, I was trying to keep up on my phone. It was tough. But hopefully there's more to come, like I said. And we'll be here to break it down when it happens. So thanks, everyone. As always, strictly ball business.